Have you ever noticed how some people can't stand when they lose control over you? Whether in relationships, work, or social settings, some people thrive on controlling others. But what happens when you refuse to let them control you? In today's world, it's common for people to try and manipulate others, often without us even realizing it. We've all experienced it, the pressure to conform, to agree, to follow. But Stoicism teaches us something powerful. We have control over our own actions, emotions, and boundaries. When we stop letting others control us, we reclaim our power and live on our own terms. In this video, we'll explore what happens when people can't control you anymore, how they may react, and how you can maintain your peace. Stoic principles will guide you in protecting your boundaries and staying true to yourself. Let's dive in and uncover the power of Stoicism in taking back control of your life. 1. The need for control. In today's fast-paced world, the need for control is increasingly prevalent. Many people, whether consciously or unconsciously, seek to control others as a means of feeling powerful or secure. It could be a boss at work, a partner in a relationship, or even a close friend. We've all encountered this feeling, the subtle or not so subtle pressure to conform, to agree, or to follow someone else's demands. These attempts to control can take many forms. Manipulation, guilt trips, or simply making you feel obligated to act a certain way. The problem arises when we allow others to control us. Over time, this behavior leads to a loss of personal power. We start living according to the desires and expectations of others instead of our own. The more we allow others to push us around, the more we begin to lose touch with our own values, emotions, and decisions. We start feeling powerless, disconnected, and even resentful. We may become frustrated with ourselves for not standing up for our own needs and desires. But there's good news. Stoicism offers a clear path out of this cycle of manipulation and control. According to Stoic philosophy, we are the only ones who can control our emotions, reactions, and decisions. Everything outside of ourselves, the actions of others, their words, and their manipulations is beyond our control. However, we can control how we respond to these external forces. This is where the power of Stoicism lies. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, taught that true peace and inner strength come from within. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that no one can make you feel anger, sadness, or frustration unless you allow them to. Your emotional state is your responsibility, not the result of someone else's actions or words. So how do we break free from the cycle of being controlled by others? The first step is awareness. We need to recognize when someone is attempting to manipulate us. Are they making us feel guilty for setting boundaries? Are they subtly or overtly pressuring us into agreeing with something we're not comfortable with? Are they using emotional tactics like fear or shame to influence our decisions? Once we become aware of these manipulative tactics, we can begin to take control of how we respond. Stoicism teaches us to pause before reacting. Instead of immediately engaging in the manipulation or getting caught up in the emotions of the situation, we take a step back. We observe the situation and reflect on how we want to respond. Do we want to act based on our own values, or do we want to let someone else dictate our emotions and actions? Another key aspect of Stoic philosophy is detachment. This doesn't mean that we become cold or unfeeling, but rather that we separate ourselves from the external world's attempts to control us. We can still empathize with others and understand their feelings, but we do not allow their emotions to take charge of ours. When someone tries to manipulate us or get us to act against our will, we can recognize that this is their issue, not ours. We have the power to remain calm and unaffected by their tactics. Recognize manipulation. Begin by noticing when someone is trying to manipulate or control you, whether through guilt, emotional pressure, or subtle tactics. Pause and reflect. When faced with emotional pressure, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to pause. Ask yourself, how do I want to respond to this? Set boundaries. It's okay to say no when something doesn't align with your values. Don't feel guilty for protecting your own peace. Focus on what you can control. Remind yourself that you control your actions and responses. You don't have to react to others' manipulations. 2. What happens when people can't control you? When people realize they can no longer control you, they often change tactics. Instead of trying to manipulate you directly, they may resort to passive-aggressive behavior, guilt trips, or emotional withdrawal. This shift can be subtle, but it's important to recognize when it happens. The first reaction you might notice is a feeling of discomfort from the other person. They may become distant, withdraw their affection or attention, or try to make you feel guilty for not complying with their wishes. This can create confusion, especially if you've been in a relationship or situation where you've been more passive in the past. It's common for people who can't control you to feel frustrated. Manipulation thrives on control, and when that control is lost, the manipulator may feel powerless. In response, they often attempt to reassert dominance in more covert ways, often with the goal of making you feel bad, insecure, or uncertain about your own decisions. They may try to make you feel responsible for their emotions or use emotional blackmail to guilt-trip you into compliance. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes invaluable. Stoicism teaches that we are not responsible for others' feelings or actions. Just because someone tries to manipulate us doesn't mean we need to engage with their emotional drama. We are not obligated to accept the emotional weight they place on us. For example, imagine a colleague at work who always takes credit for your ideas. You've spent months working on a project, and they've been subtly undermining your contributions. Once you start standing up for yourself and asserting your own worth, they might start using passive-aggressive comments to make you feel guilty for rocking the boat. They may even try to guilt-trip you into thinking you're not being a team player. Instead of succumbing to these tactics, Stoicism offers a way out. Emotional detachment is key here. The Stoic approach is to recognize that their reaction is not your responsibility. When you stop reacting to others' attempts to control or manipulate you, you regain your power. You don't need to justify yourself or explain your choices. Their feelings about your decisions are not yours to manage. Recognize the shift. When people can't control you anymore, they may act out by becoming distant or trying to make you feel guilty. This shift can be subtle, so it's important to stay aware of these changes in behavior. Do not react emotionally. The Stoic practice of detachment helps us avoid emotional manipulation. Instead of reacting, simply observe and stay grounded in your own values. Set clear boundaries. Stand firm in your decisions and don't feel the need to justify yourself. Let your actions speak for themselves. Let go of guilt. When people try to make you feel guilty for asserting your boundaries, remember that you are not responsible for their emotional reactions. Your boundaries are there to protect your peace and well-being. When people can no longer control you, they may resort to these subtle tactics, but as you practice Stoicism, you will become better at recognizing them and responding calmly. You no longer have to play by their emotional rules. Instead, you create your own rules, based on your values and principles. 3. The power of boundaries. Setting. Clear boundaries is an essential practice for maintaining your inner peace and emotional well-being. In today's world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the demands of others, whether at work, in relationships, or within social circles. People may try to push your limits, sometimes without realizing it, and it's important to establish firm boundaries to protect yourself. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, but about preserving your mental and emotional space. They serve as a protective measure, ensuring that you can focus on your own values and priorities. When you set boundaries, you're essentially telling others that your time, energy, and peace are valuable and should be respected. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength lies in self-control. The Stoics believed that by mastering ourselves, we become impervious to the chaos around us. Epictetus famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is why setting boundaries is crucial for your personal strength. By controlling your responses and deciding where you draw the line, you protect your energy and peace. For example, consider a situation where a friend consistently asks for favors that leave you feeling drained. At first, you might say yes out of a sense of obligation or guilt, but over time, you begin to feel resentful. This is where setting boundaries becomes vital. Instead of continuing to give without regard for your own needs, you assert yourself by politely but firmly saying, "I'm unable to help at the moment, but let's find another time." By doing so, you maintain your peace while still respecting the other person's need. The key to effective boundaries is consistency. It's not enough to set a boundary once and expect it to stick. Boundaries require regular reinforcement, especially with people who are used to pushing your limits. This does not mean you must be rude or confrontational, but you do need to be clear and firm. The more consistent you are in maintaining your boundaries, the more others will respect them. Recognize your limits. Start by identifying situations where you feel uncomfortable, drained, or taken advantage of. Recognizing these moments is the first step in understanding where your boundaries should be. Learn to say no. Saying no is an important aspect of boundary setting. It's okay to decline when something doesn't align with your values or when you need time for yourself. You don't need to feel guilty for prioritizing your own needs. Consistency is key. Boundaries are only effective if you maintain them consistently. If someone crosses a line, gently but firmly remind them of your limits. Being consistent in your approach will lead to greater respect from others. Reaffirm your self-worth. Every time you set a boundary, you reinforce your value. By protecting your time and energy, you show others and yourself that you deserve respect. 4. When people resort to manipulation. When people realize that they can no longer control you, they often resort to manipulations to regain power. This can take many forms, from passive-aggressive behavior to guilt-tripping. Manipulation is often subtle, but it's important to recognize these tactics so you can respond effectively. The first tactic you might notice is passive-aggressive behavior. Instead of confronting you directly, the manipulator may use sarcasm or indirect comments to make you feel uncomfortable. They may say things like, "I guess you're too busy for me now," or "It's fine, I'll just handle it myself," in an attempt to make you feel guilty. Another tactic is guilt-tripping, where they try to make you feel responsible for their emotions or actions. For example, they might say, "I've done so much for you, and this is how you repay me." These behaviors are designed to undermine your confidence, make you second-guess your boundaries, and eventually wear you down. At the core of manipulation lies a desire for control. Manipulators want to regain power over you, to get you to act the way they want, or to make decisions that serve their interests. They are not concerned with your well-being or your emotions. They are focused on maintaining their own position of power. This is why it's important to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate you. If you allow their manipulations to succeed, you give away your power and emotional stability. You let their emotions dictate your decisions and responses, which ultimately compromises your peace. The Stoic response to manipulation is one of detachment. Rather than getting drawn into the emotional drama, the Stoics encourage us to observe the situation without reacting impulsively. Epictetus teaches that it's not the external events that disturb us, but how we choose to respond to them. When someone manipulates you, their behavior is their responsibility, not yours. Your response is within your control, and it is up to you to choose whether to engage or remain unaffected. By maintaining emotional distance, we protect ourselves from being controlled by someone else's actions or feelings. For example, imagine a scenario where a colleague consistently takes credit for your work. Every time you try to assert yourself, they use guilt or sympathy to make you feel like the bad guy. Instead of reacting emotionally, the Stoic way is to pause, breathe, and reflect. You might recognize that their need to take credit for your work stems from their own insecurities and need for validation. This recognition can help you stay calm, knowing that their actions are a reflection of their character, not yours. 5. The power of saying no. One of the most important tools in taking back control of your life is the ability to say no. It may seem simple, but for many people, saying no can feel incredibly difficult. We are often conditioned to please others, to say yes to requests, and to avoid conflict at all costs. However, constantly saying yes when we really want to say no can lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of self-respect. Saying no is an act of self-preservation. It allows us to protect our time, energy, and emotional well-being. It's not about being rude or selfish, but about being mindful of our own limits and honoring our own needs. When we say no to things that don't align with our values or priorities, we are affirming our right to choose how we spend our time and energy. In Stoic philosophy, the idea of choosing wisely is central to living a fulfilled and meaningful life. The Stoics believed that we must focus on what is within our control and let go of what is not. Epictetus reminds us that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When we say no, we are taking control of our lives, choosing to focus on what truly matters and not allowing external pressures to dictate our actions. For example, let's say you have a colleague who constantly asks for your help, even though you already have a full plate. You may feel obligated to help, thinking that if you say no, you'll come across as unhelpful or selfish. However, by constantly saying yes, you are neglecting your own responsibilities and well-being. Saying no in this situation doesn't mean you don't care about your colleague. It simply means that you value your own time and energy. The key is to say no respectfully and confidently. It's not about being harsh or dismissive, but about setting a clear boundary. You can express understanding and empathy while still standing firm in your decision. For instance, you might say, "I understand that you need help, but I'm unable to assist at the moment because I have my own tasks to prioritize." When we say no, we also create space for self-care and growth. By protecting our time, we give ourselves the opportunity to focus on our own goals and well-being. This is crucial for building self-confidence and maintaining mental clarity. The more we practice saying no, the easier it becomes to prioritize what truly matters and to let go of obligations that drain us. Saying no is also a way to assert your boundaries. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships, whether at work, in friendships, or within family dynamics. When we allow others to overstep our boundaries by saying yes when we don't want to, we are essentially giving up our power. But by saying no, we take back control over our time, energy, and emotions. Practical steps for saying no. Recognize your priorities. Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you and what aligns with your values. When you know what is important, it becomes easier to say no to things that don't fit into your priorities. Practice saying no. Start small and practice saying no in situations where the stakes are low. As you build confidence, it will become easier to say no in more challenging situations. Be clear and firm. When you say no, be clear and direct. Avoid over-explaining or justifying your decision. A simple, respectful no is enough. Don't feel guilty. It's natural to feel guilty when you say no, but remind yourself that it is a form of self-care. You're preserving your time and energy for the things that matter most to you. 6. The strength in silence. In a world where everyone is constantly talking, sharing opinions, and reacting to events, silence can be one of the most powerful tools you have. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, but often the wisest and most effective response is to remain silent. Silence allows you to maintain control over your emotions and thoughts. When you respond impulsively, you may say or do things you later regret, often because you let your emotions dictate your actions. But when you practice silence, you take a step back and allow yourself the space to reflect before responding. Stoic philosophy teaches that we should not be ruled by external events. Instead, we should be masters of our own emotions and actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By embracing silence, we reclaim our ability to choose our responses instead of reacting automatically to the chaos around us. In situations where you might be tempted to argue or defend yourself, silence gives you time to reflect and respond thoughtfully. For example, if someone insults you or makes a rude comment, your first instinct may be to retaliate. However, when you choose silence, you detach from the situation emotionally and prevent the manipulative behavior from affecting you. The more you practice this, the more you strengthen your inner peace and clarity. Another advantage of silence is that it allows you to observe. When you're quiet, you can better observe the situation, the people involved, and the dynamics at play. Often, in moments of silence, you gain clarity about what's really going on. You might notice things you would have missed in the heat of the moment, like subtle manipulations or hidden motivations. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It means choosing not to engage in unnecessary emotional turmoil. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Silence gives you the ability to control your opinions and not let the opinions of others control you. Pause before reacting. When faced with an emotional trigger or a stressful situation, take a moment to breathe and collect your thoughts. This small pause can prevent you from reacting impulsively and allow you to choose a more measured response. Don't feel the need to defend yourself. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. Not every comment or criticism deserves a response. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful way to maintain your boundaries and peace. Use silence to observe. In situations where emotions are running high, use silence to step back and observe. Pay attention to the words, body language, and energy of the people around you. You'll gain valuable insights into the situation and your own feelings. Stay calm and focused. Silence helps you stay centered in moments of conflict or tension. Rather than getting swept up in the emotional current, maintain your composure and let others reveal more through their actions. 7. The power of self-reflection. Self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and emotional resilience. It allows you to connect with your true self, understand your emotions, and evaluate your actions. The Stoics placed great emphasis on self-reflection as a way to maintain self-awareness and improve their lives. Marcus Aurelius often wrote in his journal, reflecting on his thoughts and actions and responses to the world around him. When we don't take time to reflect, we can easily get caught up in the chaos of life, reacting impulsively to external events. Without reflection, we may find ourselves repeating mistakes, acting out of frustration, or allowing our emotions to dictate our decisions. However, by regularly practicing self-reflection, we create the space to pause, observe, and make conscious choices that align with our values. Self-reflection is essential for understanding why we react in certain ways. Have you ever found yourself getting angry over something trivial or feeling upset by a comment someone made? Often, these reactions stem from deeper emotions or unmet needs. Through self-reflection, we can ask ourselves, why did I react this way? What triggered this emotion? By identifying the root cause of our reactions, we can begin to heal, grow, and make better choices in the future. In Stoicism, reflection is seen as a way to learn from our experiences and become better versions of ourselves. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This applies not only to material possessions, but also to emotional desires. Self-reflection helps us recognize what we truly need, and more importantly, what we don't need. It allows us to detach from unnecessary emotions and attachments, leading to greater peace of mind. For example, if you're in a conflict with a friend, instead of reacting in anger, take a moment to reflect on the situation. Ask yourself, what is at the core of this conflict? Are you feeling misunderstood? Do you feel disrespected? Once you identify your emotions, you can approach the situation with greater clarity and understanding without being driven by reactive emotions. Set aside time for reflection. Make self-reflection a regular part of your day. Whether it's journaling, meditating, or simply taking a few moments of quiet time, make space to check in with yourself and evaluate your actions and emotions. Ask the right questions. To gain insight into your behavior, ask yourself meaningful questions. Why did I react this way? What could I have done differently? Self-reflection is most powerful when it is thoughtful and introspective. Be honest with yourself. The purpose of self-reflection is to gain clarity and improve yourself, not to justify your actions. Be honest about your weaknesses and areas for growth. Use reflection to improve. Self-reflection should lead to action. Identify areas where you can improve and take steps to make positive changes in your behavior or mindset. Remember, reflection is about learning and growing, not dwelling on mistakes. In a world where others may try to control or manipulate you, Stoic principles offer a path to inner peace and strength. By practicing self-control, setting clear boundaries, and embracing emotional detachment, you can reclaim your power and protect your peace. Remember, you are the master of your emotions and your reactions. By living in alignment with your values and regularly reflecting on your actions, you can remain steadfast and unshaken, regardless of external pressures. The true power lies within you, and with Stoic wisdom, you can navigate life with clarity and purpose.